Right. Hi, everyone. So we played to the King yesterday, which was a tournament I was hosting at Battlefield Hobbies. I didn't need to play myself in the end because we had quite a few dropouts. So 32 tickets sold, but 6 people had to drop out at quite short notice. But it was 5 for a while, and then someone dropped out last second, which dropped it down to 6. So I didn't have to get my 3 hunters ringer list out, so that was all good. So yeah, it ended up with 26 players, one of which is my esteemed colleague Tom Rice, who I have here with me.
Hello, everyone.
And obviously we went through Tom's list, which was Suladan, 7 warriors with bow, 7 warriors with spear, 1 serpent rider, serpent guard, and then Hood King with war spear, and then two raiders, and was it 2 half trolls, wasn't it? Cool.
Yes.
That was the list. Yeah, so I thought what we'd do is, I think since I didn't actually play, and people are probably sick of me sort of wittering on about my own games all the time, Tom's going to take us through his 4 games and tell us how his day went. So, Tom, game 1, you're against Luke Hunter, who had riders of Theoden. I haven't got his exact list in front of me, but it was basically Theoden, Aemir, a bunch of Rohan Royal Guard, and then maybe a sprinkling of riders, wasn't it, with a banner or something? So
Yeah, I think the list was entirely mounted.
it has
Which
to
I
be with
was
riders of Theoden. It's
sorry, forgive me, I'm still a bit of a noob and like trying to learn the lists. But yeah, Luke, when he put it all down on the table, I was like, oh gosh, I'm going to have a struggle fighting this one.
it was
Um,
Clash by Moonlight, so at least sort of
yes,
can't skirmish forever, and
that's true.
yeah.
But what's petrified me, and I always forget this with coming up against Rohan, is they all have bloody throwing spears, don't they? And
They do.
when I've got 7 archers, which would have been a bit of a threat to Cav in terms of putting them on the floor, taking the horses off, is entirely negated by the darkness. And those throwing spears, obviously, when you're in a 12-inch visibility range, they're pretty much, equivalent to bows. And you got a 10-inch move on the charge, chucking a spear in. I didn't fancy my chances with this one. So
Yeah,
the
well,
way
the board didn't really sort of confer any advantage either, because you were playing on a beach board, which was pretty, if I may say so, I think it looked nice, but it was kind of fairly unremarkable in the sense that it kind of didn't give any side an advantage. Obviously, you both played the sea is open, otherwise that would have been a nightmare. As you can hopefully see from the photos, there's a lot of sea 'cause it's a beach board. But you did sort of move up and then anchor one of your flanks on a wall, and then kind of set up between a sort of jetty and the wall, with half trolls sort of screening the front, and then all your camels sort of in the water and sort of a flanking position. So what was that basically just to present an archery wall that you'd have to deal with at some point, and sort of give you a turn of shooting and try and prevent being surrounded and all that sort of jam?
Yes, and I think we did send 2 Royal Guards down that flank to sort of keep my attention focused in that direction. I think was his logic, but the throwing spears from them just didn't get through, and I don't think he got a single kill with throwing spears on that flank, and obviously had 7 archers just facing that way in the first turn they turned up. So
I think I sort of sauntered across as you. I think you dismounted one and then shot the other. Was that, or did you shoot them both? I can't remember
I think
now.
I think I dismounted one and killed the other, and then the next turn that Royal Guard survived to turn of shooting, and then got into combat. I think fluff for combat. But basically, what happened was the first turn I was waiting for that death thing to go off,
Yeah, brutal.
and I think I managed to weather it pretty well. I think it sort of bounced off with some. I mean, bless me, I had some really terrible dice rolling, and I had some really lucky ones. So yeah, I think Luke's strategy wasn't. I couldn't fault it too much. There was one bit where perhaps come to towards the end of the game, but the way he set himself up was fine. It was just his dice; he just kept fluffing them, and I was rolling really well, which is extremely unusual for me.
And it seemed like basically he sort of banged everyone in and sort of thought the strength 4 on the charge, fight 5, Royal Guard with a banner behind him would do work, and it just seemed to not happen. And then he obviously chucked his heroes in again, who didn't really do much. And then I think once he lost enough riders, I think didn't he send the king and Daemir after your king, presumably to kill one of your heroes, which I think in the mission tips it over to him. So if he can kill one of your heroes and maybe break you and keep Theoden safe, then that's still a path to winning. So I guess that's what he was trying to do. But again, I think it was quite interesting actually how things were set up when I came across, and it's always quite interesting as a spectator, because you kind of just want to give everyone your sort of 2 cents all the time. But maybe that's just me. But but I think that there were a few things where there was when there are a few combats and strikes and whatnot, and I kept sort of dipping in and out, because obviously I was sort of general TOing stuff to do. But so how did that all go down?
Yeah, so there was I think the way I had positioned myself was to draw. I think ultimately Theoden came down to the bottom to try and deal with the Mahud king, and I'd screened Sully off. But what it had done is it had pulled Theoden down to the bottom, which meant my top flank, where I'd kept Sully with the banner, with a few lucky dice rolls, I was able to like push through on the top flank and then come back round to like pin in Aemir and Theoden at the bottom. And basically the way I can't remember exactly how it played out, but towards the end, we had Aemir in on the Mahud king, and I basically pulled Sully round, geared him up for a heroic combat, or a strike. But basically, it ended up basically like if there was his banner on the horse, who should have tried to get Sully pinned in place, because the Mahud king was out of might, but Sully still had one, so he could have come in and done the strike on Aemir. But there was a half troll keeping the banner from pinning Sully in, who was dismounted at this point. I think he was off his horse. But the banner couldn't get past, so then he tried to charge the troll but failed his courage test, so that left Sully open.
It seems like a cheeky dismount might have been in order to dismount the banner and just charge Sully, because that's the only thing that really matters, I suppose. But equally, if he could pass his courage test and charge both, then all the better, I suppose. But obviously, failing that courage was a big thing. And I think there was so didn't you combat and then go into Aemir rather than Theoden? Because I was thinking you'd want to kill Theoden as the leader, but you combated into Aemir. But then when you explained it to me, it kind of made sense. But I can't remember what you said.
It was, I think I couldn't get to Theoden.
Oh, was it literally?
Theoden was in on the. Maybe Theoden was in on the Mahud king.
I think he was.
Yeah, and then I pulled. Yeah, I got the strike off of Sully and that half troll, who were just once they'd won the fight. It was.
Oh wait, in fact, it was Aemir fighting the Mahud king, and then Theoden on foot just fighting a raider.
Yes.
So possibly. In fact, I don't think you could get all the way around to Theoden. I can see from the picture now you could get all the way around. So you went into Aemir and struck, didn't you? I think.
Yeah, and then I think won the fight, and then it was
Oh, and then the Mahud king did the business, I think, didn't he? Basically.
Yeah. So it's a good game. I enjoyed playing Luke. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, definitely. But cool. Alrighty. So Theoden survived, but otherwise lots of yummy points. So I've got that one as 8-1 on here. So that was a good game. On to the next game. You're against Callum MacDonald and his Helm's Guard. I think his iteration of Helm's Guard. I can't remember if he was the one with the. He was on foot.
He had a lot on foot. Helm was
a lot on foot. Sorry, I thought you meant Helm. I was like, what? No. Did he have a captain, or was he?
Yes, he had a captain.
So he had the captain. So he had sort of fewer Royal Guard and more just normal warriors of Rohan. But I think he had a few a few outriders as well, and a couple of riders. I think off. I mean, I could check his list, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to just go off memory, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. But yes, so you lined up on capture and control. So again, how did that one go?
Yeah, so I deployed very aggressively forward, taking the middle and the left objective to start, because obviously it's one where you tag it and then you control it for the rest of the game until someone else comes and gets it. Forgot that there was an objective at the back that I might want to try and get as well. Which I then had to, once I deployed my second warband, I deployed them aggressively forward to support the first warband, which is the Mahud King. Yeah, so the second warband was Sully, so I deployed my sort of arrow line to the sort of as far forward as I could, but on the right hand side, pin in between a tree and the sort of some ruins. So I had my 7 archers at the front, which again didn't really think that through because the archers also have spears. So I put those at the front with spear support behind.
Yes,
so
yeah,
deployed like
isn't that
such
the
a
whole
fool.
point?
Yeah, in hindsight,
worry.
I'm not the best general. But then yeah, so we ended up getting like a bit of a shooting contest on that right flank with 2 of his, what are their Rohan archers called, for hit on a 3+, sort of what are they called? Anyway, I had a couple of archers up on some ruins that we were exchanging shots on. And then yeah, on the left hand side is where I sort of had my cav. So I was like playing a bit of a game, bringing the Mahud King as far as I could and just sort of kept him behind the edge of a bit.
What happened to Suladan, Tom?
Nothing happened to Sullivan. He had a lovely game and he was
He
playing
was fine. He had a
perfectly
wonderful
well.
time.
Yeah. So Sullivan deployed sort of roughly in the centre of the board, but back about 6 inches, and then turn 1 realised that was a huge mistake. So I left a nice open line for one of his outriders, is it called? The ones
Yeah.
and just shot Sully's horse out from underneath him. Turn 1. So Suladan was on foot again this game, having lost his precious white stallion.
And I think, to be fair, I don't think his sort of throwing spears or stuff did too much by that point. But I do remember walking over and you shot. I think you got 3 hits on the front of a shield wall. But then, what did you roll after those 3 hits, Tom?
I rolled 3 6s.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yeah,
we're trying to like friendly game. We're trying to have a good time, and you just go and do that. So you bearing in mind that the model count, I think you had like 19 because I think you had one maxed out warband with a helm. Killing 3 models and shooting is quite significant. Like just in one sort of random thing. And then I guess the lines sort of clashed a bit there, and I think Callum said he overextended his helm a bit, but where did helm end up getting stuck in?
So what happened was I sort of starting to lose the shooting war a bit because his guys were hitting a bit better than mine, apart from one 666, and they obviously had some throwing spears as well. So I just need to engage him in combat with my half trolls and raiders rather than just doing this dance because I'm losing the shooting war. So I pulled the Mahud King out and the raiders out and thought, right, I'm gonna have to take a turn to shoot him. But basically what happened is I pulled them out, and then the next turn, I can't remember who won priority, but ended up going to a heroic move off, and then he charged the Mahud King with helm and didn't cooler with me. So then I think it went to.
I assume that was in order to not drag the whole formation over that way and to make sure he had the movement to get in rather than anything else.
But basically, it meant Helm was out on his own, and it was sort of like, that scene in Revenge of the Sith where Anakin cuts off Windu's hands, and then Palpatine just does that little cheeky smile.
The Mahud King's like, I'm too weak, and then Helm charges him, unlimited power.
Exactly.
And then you won the strike off, did you? Basically.
Yeah. Well, I then had the Mahud King, and then Sully and a half trolley on Helm with a maybe even like the Serpent Guard spear support. For that Serpent Guard. The next game, Serpent Guard did something, but I was like, I don't know, make sure he has some use because I thought it was a bit of a redundant character. But yeah, so then he brought his captain up, I blocked his captain off with a single Haradrim spearman. Like, obviously forgetting that like heroic combats exist. So I did a strike with Sully, who was, and between Sully and the Rohan captain was, and there was a Rohan captain of a Royal Guard with him. So just this one Haradrim warrior. So he called the heroic combat, won the fight because obviously Haradrim warriors just aren't going to stack up. I think he rolled a 6, had the fight, but failed to land the kill on the Haradrim warrior. So the Haradrim warrior then stopped him from doing his heroic move to peel Sully off Helm, and then it was Sully had done the strike. I think Helm might have even been out of might because no, he wouldn't have been out of might, would he?
He might have spent the 3-1 doing something else though, so he might have used it to call the move, and then if he'd spent all of his natural might or something, then
yeah. Anyway, there's a strike off. I think I won it. I'm sure it was but anyway, I had the fight, and then with the Mahud Kings, 3 attacks, Sully's 3 attacks, the half trolls 2 attacks, and the random Serpent Guard, we just got enough to put him in the ground.
That's the thing, is Helm's very, very good, but if he loses against stuff with high strength or lots of attacks, he can't just go down, and I guess that's what happened.
Yeah, it was the same, well, not the exact same tag team duo that Mr. Denny's Helm had up in Borden Brum, but that was a Haradrim King and Sully, and it was just like, with Helm, I was like, once he's gone, the rest of it just doesn't work.
I'm guessing that's what happened, is basically you then just sort of ground out the rest of it and claimed all the objectives and whatnot.
Yeah, because he was out of might. By that point, I might have had 1 or 2 pieces of might left. So I was like, I can then, like, I've got a couple of.
He's lost the fight bonus and everything now, so there's no 5/5 around. So at least your heroes are safe, so you don't actually need the strike for anything anymore. So
exactly,
very handy.
So yeah, it was a good game as well. I enjoyed it. It was very close, and Callum.
Yeah, I think Callum enjoyed it as well, from what I heard as well. So
yeah,
that was good. Okay, cool. So you got 12-0 actually, because you ended up with all the objectives, and was it broken and leader 1 point each or something like that, isn't it? But you got the 12-0 anyway. So then we had lunch. You declined a Mackey's.
I got kindly.
Okay, that's all right then. Yeah. But you went with Cam to go and get me a quarter pounder. So you still did the Lord's work, but coming with your healthy wraps was a little off-putting, because I was just a bit like, not even a proper nerd. If you're not like drinking, yeah, brother, what's that, brother? If it's like, it's, I don't know. You're not drinking. You don't drink Monster. Like, you don't eat Mackey's when Mackey's presents itself. You don't sort of, I just don't know.
Well, I'd had a Mackey's on Tuesday. I'd had a Nando's on Thursday.
I had Nando's on Thursday.
Then I'd had another, and then we had we've been out for a roast dinner today. So I think I'd had the Mackey's in like 5 out of 7 days being like eating out. So.
I know what I have to do, but I don't know how to do. Anyway, so you were, I think you were top as we went into lunch, and you came up against Kyle Webb, who had, he had a captain with the kitchen sink, so mounted lance, heavy armor, shield. He's playing Numenor, but he had a Sealdor with the ring, but on foot. So this is the one where I was giving it the big cheese and ham for there being no horse as a Sealdor delivery system. Or, half time he doesn't actually need the ring, so that's why I like him on horse anyway. But Cairo had basically just slapped all morning, and so basically when I rip on someone's list, they then do really well. So obviously last time I ripped on Cam's list and he won the whole thing. This time I ripped on Kyle's list for not having a horse on a Sealdor, and then he just goes and like I think he must have gone into lunch like second place or something. So he'd done well. I rolled Seize the Prize, which is obviously the one where there's just a prize in the middle that needs to be dug up and run off your opponent's board edge. So you were on my Ammon Hen board for this, weren't you? I think so. A lot of woods and sort of line of sight blocking stuff and sort of ruins and that sort of thing. So I was quite pleased you got to play on it actually, because it's my favourite one I've made. Although obviously a lot of the trees are Battlefield in a box, but we'll gloss over that. But so how did you approach this one, Mr. Rice?
So I don't even know if my list has March. I'm guessing Sully has it.
I don't know actually, because I don't think the king
I don't know.
just has
Quite
strikes, doesn't
frankly, I don't want to know. The
March
king
don't need
doesn't
it.
have it. Let's have the rule book open. Sorry, the army list here.
In
He
fact, if
does
I
have
have my army
March.
list, he does have
have it.
March.
Yeah. However, he didn't need it because on the second turn I'd one priority. So anyway, the way I deployed was I had my Manhood Raiders up on the left flank, who I then hid behind Aim and Hen. Because I was like, I don't very the actual like stone structure thing or the mound. I was
It's
like,
actually
they
the
hide there.
seeing seat. If you
The
want to,
seeing
if you want to get technical.
Look, I'm not a nerd. I don't.
Yeah, we've established that.
The stone thing on the letter. No, I am a nerd. But there's the stone construct, the seeing seat. Then, so I moved up behind the seeing seat so that his archers couldn't shoot me.
Yeah, his
They'd have some
like four
dirty in the ways.
Numenor bows you were scared of for some reason.
I was. Actually, no, I wasn't. So, I put them up there because then I was like, if I go for the relic, then there's a dirty counter charge coming straight in, and then Sully I sort of positioned to be able to sort of flank round from the right if he needed to chop down something.
So did Kyle march with his, because he has captain with
No.
March, but he seemed to, I think he deployed either side of trees. So because obviously my very vanilla, boring but effective tactic is just to ball up and march twice.
Yeah, which is what I should have done because I wasn't really thinking too much about it. But Kyle had, sorry, it wasn't Kyle, was it? Is it Kyle?
Kyle, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Kyle. I forgot your name for a second. Yeah, so Kyle had first priority because he didn't march. Like I didn't think about it either.
Yeah.
So we were both like 6 inches away. I don't think he made a beeline straight for it. While I did with my sort of wall of warriors. So
you arrived first without marching.
Yes, so arrived at the start of second turn without marching, and then picked up the objective, and then sort of had a half troll right next to the Haradrim warrior who had picked up the relic.
And you dug it up first turn.
Did it? I got a 6 to pick it up.
Nice.
So he loved it. He really wanted it.
He was a thirsty man.
So then I'd sort of moved my line up, and I'd put my cav on the left. I think I've even moved a half troll up on the left as well, just to counter a seal door coming up. And I think I've got like a Haradrim warrior in the doorway as well to protect the one who picked it up. But on the right of the Haradrim warrior, I had a half troll. His captain was making a beeline up towards me. Like he was in charge range that turn, and he was like, "I'm gonna charge them both." And I was like, if I was being a gent, which I wasn't, because I'm a sweaty tryhard, I'd encourage him not to do both, but to go in just for the warrior, to kill the warrior and then pick it up automatically. But he went in against the half troll and the warrior and then bounced off the half troll because the half troll has fight 5.
I don't think that's ungentlemanly. I think it's that's fine. I think it's when someone's completely missed something. But if he kind of thought, I can take on both, that's just a judgment call at the end of the day. But
I did the whole like, are you charging both? Because there's a courage test for the troll. But are you sure? And he's like, yeah, and he passed the courage test.
To be fair, if you won, then it'll kind of, look like a bad move. But then if he'd have pulled it off and killed both, then I suppose it goes both ways. So.
But I think also that turn prior to the so just after the captain had charged on the right hand side, I had the large block of my archers because I was like, I need to move them to get them into position because the way the board was set up. So I didn't bother like shooting the first couple of turns. I moved them up a bit, and then there was a beautiful line of sight to his banner who wasn't in base contact with anyone. So I took the shot, killed the banner, so he had no banner, and then the captain was out I had Sully's banner, obviously. So I think that's how I'd won the combat, because obviously I had to reroll with the troll who was equalising fight with a Numenorian captain, fight 5.
Yeah, fight 5, yeah.
Yeah, but obviously he was on 3 attacks, I was on 3 attacks, but yeah, I think I just won on the roll and then knocked the captain back. Or basically, I can't remember all the captain. Yeah, no, I think I knocked the captain back because I didn't go back. And then I think I won priority. No, I didn't win priority next turn. I had to call a heroic with Sully and then moved Sully just a little bit, ran the Haradrim warrior back, handed the prize over, and then did the usual around Suladan, a perimeter create. which is how I'm used to playing Suladan. But then I had an angry Isildur rampaging up with
yeah.
my left flank with the ring on. I was like, oh gosh.
So, when did he put the ring on? Was it right at the
First
start?
turn, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I suppose there were no Will of Evils. Sorry, no sort of failed Will of Evils at the beginning of the game.
No, first 2 turns he passed, and I think even on the second turn. No, the third turn. So after I'd handed off to Sully, he then charged into one of my Haradrim warriors, and then that turn, then heroic combated into Sully. At which point I was like, "Shit."
Did you have you got heroic defense? I don't know if you do actually. Did you
No,
did you
I don't. Resolve, March, Strike, or Challenge.
That's unfortunate.
I wouldn't have thought about doing that anyway. Because I don't.
It's one of those things where it never sort of occurred to me until I had a hero die, and then afterwards someone said he had defense, and now it's an essential part. Yeah, but he doesn't have defense, and there's no point in striking because he's fight 6. So obviously the most you can get is fight 5, even if you go up to fight 10 and then halve it. So
exactly, which was, you might have remembered, was a point I asked you over to clarify with
yes, yeah,
the TO question. So yes, I defluffed it. Didn't kill Sully. I think he struck Sully instead of a horse, which he should have gone for the horse really, just to guarantee.
Yeah, I suppose with 3 attacks needing force to kill, you kind of think if you can get the 3 wounds and then fail that fate, then he's dead. But yeah, I'd probably have played it conservatively and got him off the horse, because then he ain't going anywhere, is he?
Exactly. But
obviously you still got other cav, but obviously if Sully's off his horse, that's very, very helpful.
So I think to get to this point, even you'd used all of Isildur's might.
Right.
And then, so he'd wounded Sully, and then next turn I'd either won the initiative or, because he had no might, Sully just was like, see ya.
See ya.
And then I just fed him, and actually no, it wasn't even that. It was then he had failed his ring roll as well, so he'd struck Sully, and I was like, I'm just gonna go wander into these woods over here.
Oh yeah, you put Isildur into the woods, didn't you?
Yeah. Which he was like, oh, that was a really mean thing to do. And I was like, to be honest, if he didn't go into the woods, he'd just gone 6 inches. The result was the same, because when you get control of the next turn, he's just going to move the same distance out of the woods as he moved into the woods.
He's basically got 2 turns out of contention, hasn't he? Which is massive.
Yeah. So then at that point, Sully moved off to the left, regrouped with the Mahud Cav, and then made a beeline down the left flank. And while then the trolls led the Haradrim resistance up the middle. On the right,
did they end up dying, or did they?
I think both trolls survived, which was good. But
so it's just if they die, they die at that point.
yeah. I wasn't even bothered about the trolls. They were just sort of just trying to, basically, as I was moving up the left, he'd then reoriented his force over to the left as well, with Isildur then chasing around the back up the left on foot. He was going to catch him. But yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. But on the right hand flank, he'd positioned a couple of men there to stop me from breaking through on the right. And Numenorians are fight 4, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is where the Serpent Guard came in handy, because he was backing up a Haradrim warrior, allowing me to tie all the fights, and I'd won a substantial number of the roll-offs there. So the Serpent Guard, despite being
I suppose basically that's all irrelevant, though, isn't it? Is
he was an important part of my list and contributed.
But the prize was off. Well, yeah, I guess you must have got it off in the end, because that ended 10-1. So
yeah, he wounded. I think he got a point for wounding Sully.
Yeah, and then you just didn't touch Isildur, or
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right. We object off, and then the game ended.
But so your last game was against the Great Beast, the Great Beast list, and Brian. So you were on a river board, and it looks like you guys didn't engage with the river too much and just kind of used it to anchor one of your flanks. And then he had the Great Beast on the other side, and it looked like you kind of mirrored him, and that you had Harad next to the river, and then Mahud opposite the Great Beast. So
Yes.
what was your game plan going into this one? Because obviously you've not played against War Beasts, I don't think, but I think you've played with War Beasts. Obviously, there was that one battle report we did. I think that in a couple of historic games, like years ago. I think now probably.
Yeah. Did we record that one and put it on your channel with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you've obviously watched it loads as well, so that's good.
Yes. Yeah. So people will know that I'm an expert pilot of War Beasts. I know how to use them. I know exactly what I'm doing with them.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't. No, I have no idea. I had no idea what I was doing with it. I'd basically my experience of like playing with the Mumak was you just want to put wounds on it to maximize the chance of it going ballistic.
Yeah.
So my
Stampeding is the technical term if you want to get technical.
precisely. So I was trying to get it to stampede. So I basically I'm going to chuck a bunch of Mahud Raiders at this and pray for an impact hit. Which sort
it's
of
not impossible because is it D7, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's a
change to
6.
5. Oh, is it 6?
And,
Yeah.
you got because if you charge it at both raiders, that's 2 chances to roll a 6, and
Yeah.
Force some might out of them for courage tests or something. So
Precisely. So anyway, it started with I think it started with a heroic move roll off, which I think I won with the Mahud King, who I then charged into the War Beast. Now this is the first time I think I've used a Mahud Pride rule because then everyone else around and this entire tournament, the Mahud King has been an absolute chad. Like he did not roll any snake eyes on his courage test. He was around for the whole thing.
and
He
he does that
passed
when
all
you
his
play
courage test. Yeah, exactly. But he passed his courage test to charge the Great Beast. And then, so therefore, the Raiders and the Trolls, who are warriors, were also like, yeah,
yeah, I didn't think
I'm
about
in.
the trolls. But yeah, it's warriors because I always think of because the
Yeah, you
raiders
think
are
of
the
the Raider.
important ones, but
Yeah.
the trolls are okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
they've got the warriors keyword, which I did double check and share with Brian just to make sure that I wasn't being,
Sneaky.
gamey. Yeah, so basically, yeah, the trolls and the Mahud Raiders were able to get into it every time because the Mahud King kept passing his courage test. So I think the first turn I got the drop on it, but failed to. I think he then used the might on it to win the fight in a roll off because I know he won the fight and then basically pushed me back. And I think next turn he won the roll off for the heroic move and then stampeded me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, trampled me, stampedes the other thing. So yeah, he trampled into the Mahud King and then a couple of other
But he didn't
men.
kill the Mahud King because
No,
this is where I came over again, wasn't it? And because when you trample something, you fail to kill it, you stop and you're in combat.
Yeah, which sort of we neither of us realised, despite me having a Mamak as well. But yeah, so the Mahud King basically like stopped it with his.
And that's what heroes are good at actually. Is
Yeah.
it's not great because you don't want your hero just to lose loads of stats. And I played a Great Beast not long. Actually, it was long ago now. It was Contest of Champions last year, which is a tournament like September or something. And yeah, I think I was playing scouts and I put like something like a Snaga, which is 2 wound 3/1/1 captain in front of it, and obviously because you think it's just going to be able to tank it, and yeah, I mean yes, because heroes are very hard to kill in one go, so you can sort of just chuck a hero in front of it and then hold it up for a turn before it does damage to your army. But also it can just absolutely rinse your stats, like if you have to fate and use might to adjust that fate instead of dying and all that sort of thing. And I guess you lost your camel, so
Yes, the poor camel was just. I think for most of the game I was camel-less because I think the camels went down pretty much like turn 2.
yeah.
But basically, like with most of my games, when I was able to force the opponents to spaff all their might. So there's no might left on the board for Brian. I think turn 3. So I was able to then like call when I didn't win the priority. I was able to call the heroic moves. But again, when I won the priority, the Mahud King was going straight into that War Beast, knowing I was winning on fight value with a half troll with him pretty much every time.
And then
somehow
silly
managed
banner as well. So
exactly. So I was able to totally negate the War Beast. I think. I mean, there were a couple of times where I did got a trample off, but it's a strength 6 hit. I think.
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
But for Mahud King with a shield is defense 6.
Yeah,
That's
so
a
still
really
4s, and
strong
you're
wicker
like
basket that he's got.
yeah,
Yeah.
but you're like he still needs 2 I think they have to be natural. He might be able to might them, but obviously if he uses might, it doesn't matter anyway. But 2 natural 4s. I mean, it's there's a
on
good
3
chance that.
dice. Yeah.
Oh, was it 3 dice? Oh, okay.
Is it 3 dice? I think.
I
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
it's 3 dice he had.
I did look up the War Beast rules and then immediately forgot them as soon as I didn't need to remember them anymore. But either way, it's not impossible that he does 1 or no wounds. So yeah, so a good wicker basket can no,
Yeah,
inflicts 2 strength 6 hits.
2. Oh yeah, it was 2. Yeah, so basically, yeah, it's I think he was fluffing a lot for the trample dice, and
Yeah,
the king was just able to sort of stay around the whole game. And
he was doing his job so Sully could do his. So I think with the Great Beast, I think there was one I came over when you got like 3 wounds on it, and then it trampled. What happened there? Did it basically? I mean, you just kind of had a few fights, did a few wounds, and then yeah, that turn it sort of trampled. Did that really matter, or did you just kind of send it away and then the game
I
sort of ended? Or
basically my worry was if I stampeded it into his line,
which
it
would
was
be
then going to
hilarious.
be it would have been hilarious. But there's also a tree in the way, so I was only really going to be able to hit Moranor, the
Yeah,
Moranor captain, which I thought, if a Mahud King could probably make short work of him on higher fight and with higher strength.
yeah, it's
Um,
better just to send it away, isn't it?
so I sent it away because then, so for the next turn, when my line had then moved further to the left, it was out of charge for another turn.
Yeah, so it's
So
basically lost 2 turns.
exactly, so I was able then to consolidate the rest of the line. But I think that happened a little bit later in the battle. I think take a turn or 2 steps back. In the center, Gorby had made a bit of a punch through and was through into my back line, which was like 3 deep because of the way you have to set up the contest. And he basically had used all his might and ended up in a position where he was trapped and lost a roll off against a Haradrim warrior with a Haradrim support. And I think the Haradrim warriors won the fight and just killed him.
Wow,
So
that's not
Gorby,
our Gorbachev.
no,
That's not the
exactly.
Gorbachev of Warhammer World. He was a force to be reckoned with.
Exactly. He hadn't done his he hadn't undergone the Glasnost reforms, and so was not able to successfully see himself through. But yeah, he Gorby died on 1 kill, which was great news to me. At this point, I was sort of seeing the Warbeast like trampling on my right line. I'd seen Gorby like in a position to do a lot of damage. And I was like, I'm gonna tank this game now. But again, when Gorby went down, it was that cheeky Palpatine grin when he has his window has his hand cut off, and then at that point Sully was like, right, I'm going in. And he
And
started
then I
going
guess
in.
he just minced.
No, he ended the game on 3 kills and the 7 victory
Still
point.
triple 1 kill though, so that's good.
Exactly, and the criteria is at least 3 kills and
Yeah,
triple your opponent. So Sully managed to then scrape together enough kills, then just hung back as we um sort of churned through the rest of his line, managed to break. I think both of us were broken at the end of the game. But then I was like, actually, let me just read the victory conditions. Is basically when they're quartered, and Brian had enough. Basically, he had more than 25% of his models in the War Beast, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah. You basically
well,
have to deal with the War Beast to quarter him.
yeah, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna run away at this point because I'd got the VPs that I'd needed,
Yeah,
and I was just losing men. So I basically moved Sully back. When in reality, I think I should have chucked him in just to get a couple more extra kills, but I didn't need them, so I
I
just
don't
pulled
know
Sully
if he's
back.
got 3 kills, Gorbag's dead, and he's got 1. Sully just runs away because he's tripling. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
he's not needed, and
So
you just let the War Beast squish everything else. That's fine.
yeah,
So
so I pulled Sully back. Failed my stand fasts. Sorry, my
perfect.
courage tests, and then basically at the end of that rounds, it was game over.
Did
And
you do warriors first to like force an end to the game, or did you just fail them?
how do you mean? Did I do warriors?
So if you do a hero, obviously he gives a stand fast. If you do the warrior
Oh,
first, there's no stand fast up. So you can if you do the warriors first, you're more likely to obviously run away. Whereas if you I don't know if you've got a hero in range, you do him first and he covers everyone, nobody's running away. But if you want the game to end, you can just do warriors first.
I can't remember how I did it.
But either way, enough
Yeah,
stuff failed, and that was that.
yeah. Yeah, and there was no way for him to recoup the points at that point because obviously Gorby was dead and Sully had done.
Yeah.
Do what you must, for I have already won.
So you ended that with 7-1 to you.
Yes, which going into it, I was petrified of that War Beast. But I think
Yeah.
the Mahud King did the business and, stopped it from being a threat to the rest of my line.
Even if he just blocked it out of the game long enough so that Sully got 3 kills and Gorby died on 1, like that's all that matters then. Like,
Yeah.
so
I'm pretty
mission
sure the King
accomplished.
made it to the end. So
He was available for the mission accomplished speech on the aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if anyone actually understands or find any of our references or Star Wars memes funny, but
Did you grow up in the noughties? Did you have an interest in politics and science fiction growing up in the noughties? If not, yeah, humour's
exactly.
lost on you.
So Sonny won his game 7-1, but you were.
No, I think Sonny won 8-1, didn't he?
No. Oh wait, hang on a sec.
Yeah, Sonny won 8-1.
Oh, sorry, I got the wrong way around. You won 7-1. He won 8-1. So the tiebreakers. So you were the only ones who ended on 4 wins. Unfortunately, I think maths is not my strong suit. I think once you have over 16 players and 4 games, I think 2 people can end up on 4 wins if there's not enough draws. So that's what happened here. So we had 26 players and we had two players on 4 wins. So first tiebreaker was victory point difference, and you had a victory point difference of 34 and he had a victory point difference of 33. So if he'd have scored 1 more point, he would have won because the next tiebreaker is victory points conceded. So that was the squeak, and he conceded 2, you conceded 3 throughout the whole day, which is pretty impressive, frankly. But you won the whole thing, so that was good.
Yeah, triumphant, took the win. First time I've ever podiumed.
Yeah,
very
quite an impressive podium then.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and now I can retire. A one-term winner.
Exactly.
Do what Joe Biden can't do.
Yeah.
Defeat after 1 victory, and just disappear into absurdity.
Into the sunset.
Yeah, but no, it was a really good tournament. You put on a good show. And everyone I played was really fun to play against. So yeah, I had a really good time. I wasn't, when I'd written my list, I said to you, I was writing it with a view of like, I don't really want to play Haradrim. I'm doing my new fiefdoms army. I'm really excited to get those out and playing. Like, I'm just bored of playing with Sully and the Mahud King. I'll just
That's why you need a bajillion armies like me, so that you can choose a different one each time and sort of master none of them, but keep it interesting.
Yeah, but I think the way, because I started with just a Haradrim and it's taken me a while to get built up, I very intimately know how Haradrim and Mahud work quite well together.
Yeah, I think this is, I wouldn't say the list you've taken to other tournaments like uncompetitive, but I think you'll mix Mordor in, which is like with Chagrat, which I think is not a bad option, but isn't like the optimal option. Whereas I think Suladan, a bunch of bows, and then Far Harad is actually, with a couple of half trolls, a couple of raiders, that probably is something more like an optimal sort of optimized option. I don't know enough to sort of say that for sure, but I suppose it's there's a lot of strong lists, and I thought yours was good, but I thought there were sort of more sweaty ones basically. But so it was, I don't know, I found it interesting that you did so well, firstly because you've gotten good at the game quite quickly out of nowhere, and it's kind of alarming, but that's that's all good, but also just because I mean it's a very solid list, and there's no reason it shouldn't podium or win. But I suppose it's just you got Helmsguard, Army of Lake Town, Goblin Town, Fell Beings of Mirkwood, Riders of Theoden, obviously spicy Mordor stuff. You got Host the Dragon Emperor as well, and Ugluck Scouts. Ugluck Scouts very good at 400 points. So it's just a whole bunch of nasty stuff basically, and yeah, no, it's good. It's kind of nice to see a non-legendary legion win as well, to be honest, because I know you have a bit of a thing about legendary legions as well.
Yeah.
The thing being negative energy.
Yeah. Just play like a man. Take a list that doesn't have extra buffs to it.
Exactly. Don't need them.
Yeah. I'm sure I offended half a player base or more. Well, no, the worst ones, and I'll go for the legendary legions from the Hobbit. Just disgusting.
Brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I think there is I don't know if it's just my perception, because just my perception, but I feel like there is a bit of a tilt towards Hobbit sort of armies generally. But so we've heard of Tom's triumph. What I'll do is I'll just sort of do a general roundup. So we had Tom in first place, and then Sonny in second place, also on 4 wins. So Miles Sage ended third with Fell Beings of Mirkwood. So I think he was sort of hanging around the top of the table, but he did lose one of his games. Which one was it? So he beat our esteemed colleague James Murphy at Seize the Prize, because obviously Spider Queen moved up and then farted out some of those little spiderling things, and then they went and picked up the objective turn 1, and then just ran past loads of dwarves, and it was just like it was literally like that. But I think he kept them on the board to make a game of it and try and get more VPs as well. So that was all good. He lost to Sonny in game 2, losing 12-0, which is quite resounding. So I think his other wins were also quite resounding the other way. So that was good. So that's the top 3. So I felt for Bruce in particular, because Bruce was doing very well with Lake Town and Thorin from Thorin's Company, and then just getting contest last round just kind of stuffed him basically. But I was speaking to him at the end, and obviously he said, that's just one of those things. And when you bring the master, he's just kind of, if you draw contest, you're gonna have a bad time.
It is sort of like almost like a nice thematic ends to a tournament, isn't it? Like a clash of champions. Yeah. But then I was like, oh my gosh, Sully is not a killer. He's a lover. And going up against like that Mordor list of a war beast, I was like, oh, what have you done, James?
Yeah, no, I think there are a few sort of slightly awkward matchups. I think the main one was the Lake Town against Sonny, because I think Sonny basically was then guaranteed a win as well, which was basically bad for you in the sense that Sonny was pretty much guaranteed a win unless there's some sort of massive disaster or misplay, and then you had to do contest with Sully, which is not the worst thing, but it's not what you want. It's just lucky he didn't come up against loads of Helm's Guard, because obviously I think Helm did a lot of winning against stuff in the contest.
Yeah, he's a lawnmower, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But yeah, that was that was all good. I don't think there's any sort of too much notable stuff really. I think everyone just sort of played their games. I think there are a few key matchups early on which sort of set the tone for various people, because I thought Elliot would do quite well, but then Sonny beat him round 1, and then it just seemed like his rolling never picked up after that. And then I think Cameron getting I think he got a draw and then a win, and then he played Sonny and lost. That kind of put him out of contention, because even though I think he won the last game, I think he was 2. Oh wait, no, he lost the last game. It was Contest of Champions against Helm. So Cameron finished lower down the order, but that was, I think a lot of that was sort of matchup issues.
Cameron's game against Sonny though really pulled Sonny's VPs down. So Cameron basically fell on his sword so that Sully could.
He died honourably so that you might live.
Exactly. He won me the tournament.
I think, to be honest, I think again, I wasn't there for the whole game, but Cameron basically repeatedly failed to dig it up. I think he failed to dig up the prize like 3 times, I think he said, and for a while could sort of dug it up, given it to another warg, and been able to use the mobility. But I think basically he created a screen around the prize, went to dig it up with the warg, and the screen eventually died. And then the prize never got dug up, and I think that's what did it. So yes, I think Cameron fell on his sword there, frankly, so that you could prosper. But so that's I guess nothing sort of too amazing to report other than that. I'll quickly just rumble through the sort of response. So because I sent the feedback form, and I've had
Did you
9 or
see
10.
mine?
I did see yours, yes. Well, it's anonymous, but I figured which comments were yours. I probably won't repeat them here.
Yes, probably a good idea.
But yeah, I've got 9 or 10 responses now. So just a few improvements I made over last time. I have a visible clock this time. Improved sort of communication. I've spent a lot of time practicing yelling at my daughter and dogs and wife as well, just to make sure I'm sort of. I don't know what it is. I think it's some like. I sort of talk a lot of crap, but I mean, normally as a person, I'm sort of fairly quiet. So it's kind of like shouting in a room full of people is always quite awkward. But I just kind of got over it, and I was shouting at everyone this time. So I put the clock in. I can't remember. I think there was another thing that I mentioned that I changed.
Forms for voting.
Forms. Yeah, I changed the voting forms. So I'll come on to that in a bit actually, because I have a separate question about that. But basically, everyone was very satisfied with the event, which is good, and everyone was very satisfied with the terrain at the event. So 10 of the 13 tables were mine. And the shop is not super duper well set up for Middle Earth, so I think we sort of scraped 3 tables together and it looked decent, but weren't sort of obviously bespoke like mine are to sort of Rohan, Weathertop, Skilliath, all that sort of stuff. It was kind of more some ruins and some trees, but it kind of looks good. But and I had a lot of people complimenting the terrain, which is nice because obviously you spend lots of time doing it. So so I think generally, positive comments about the terrain. People satisfied. I think everything was. I mostly got very goods. There were a couple of only goods, but it was like very overwhelmingly very good for the pre-event communication at the event, and TO decisions and support. There was one sort of bad for ease of using Longshanks. And sorry, the round limits and timekeeping were also very good, with a couple of goods as well. There's one person who didn't like using Longshanks, but I kind of acknowledge that, but then I think it's also the best way of using it. Running a tournament, because I've sort of gone to tournaments where people use their own spreadsheets, and it kind of has a more chance of stuff being put in wrong and cock-ups and that sort of stuff. So I think we just need to sort of grin and bear Longshanks, but I think it's pretty good overall, and hopefully everyone will get used to using it. I think England scored. Everyone's just going bananas outside my house.
Oh yeah, we should say we are recording it instead of being Patriots.
Oh no, we lost. It was 1-0 Spain. I was gonna wait until we went 1-0 down, then put like a fiver on England, but I haven't used my Ladbrokes account in like years, because I used to watch Formula 1 every time and sometimes just place a random bet on it. But
it's not finished yet.
Football's not. No.
Yeah.
Unless it's just gone 1-1. I don't know.
It says 1. Why are we filling the Venn diagram of?
I don't know. I really can't stand football, but I was just sorry. Everyone just went bananas. That was really off-putting. Anyway, additional comments. Yeah, everyone was pleased with that. In terms of the venue, again, everything was sort of good or very good. Exceptions were the facilities and parking. We got a few neutrals for that, but obviously that's the venue. I can't do anything about that. So it's. I think we have scored. I can.
Yeah, it's 1-1.
Yeah, because they've set up a TV like outside the pub, and I can literally see it from my house. So I can see Gareth Southgate going bananas. So I should have put a bet on before we went. Oh, okay, never mind. Too busy finding out about your delightful day. But anyway, sorry, I'll stop waffling. Any additional comments? I think overall overall good. A bit hot and sticky, but again, windows are all open, fans are all on. It used to be a refrigeration unit apparently, so that's why it's very insulated. Hopefully they'll put aircon in, but we'll see. It's out of my control, obviously, but I can't do anything about that. So people happy with the venue overall, so that's good. And generally, people were happy with the spacing. A couple of the tables were a little cramped, but that's just sort of it's just sort of how the room works, really. I can't do anything about that as well, but overall very positive anyway. And yeah, all the price support ticket price was, that was spot on. People liked the voting system, so I don't know if you've come across this, Tom, but there's sort of people who are sort of worse offenders for it than others. So I didn't mean that in like a catty way. I just mean like just as an observation. So some tournaments you have. So I'll explain what I did last time. Actually, is last time I collected best painted votes during round 3 because obviously it was at lunch. Everyone was displaying, and obviously I had 4 rounds, 2 before lunch, 2 after. And then most sporting, I collected half an hour before the end of round 4 because I wanted to be able to sort of promptly. Go on to awards at the end of it, and obviously that sort of a few people were a bit like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to vote for this guy or not because the game's not ended. And I was a bit like, well, you sort of surely you've got a sense of it, and at the end of the day, I need to count stuff up and get everyone out promptly. So that kind of, I didn't get any sort of negative feedback about it, but obviously there was a few comments on the day. It's just like, well, no, I'm not voting until the end of the game, which it's like, okay, whatever. But on the flip side, I've had it where people do it sort of properly, inverted commas, and nobody votes till the end. But then it's just like, well, everyone's gonna have to wait sort of 15 minutes whilst I count all these bloody slips, and then obviously miscount and then have to recount and stuff. So it's just all like, it's all a massive pain in the ass basically. So what I did this time was I just set up a Google form, and appreciate that I hid the link for it in a dumb place, but everyone did find it eventually. So obviously next time I'll physically post it in the event rather than the event description. And also I'll do 2 separate ones so people can vote for most sporting at lunchtime and then best sporting at the end. So they don't have to remember who they wanted to have as painting and whatever. So, but overall, everyone was very pleased with it. They have no sort of negative comments about it. So I think I will do that because it just means that
it was so quick at the end. You were able to go straight away, weren't you?
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, at the end, I was like, "Has anyone not voted?" And then one person was like, "Yeah, I've not voted." Okay, you vote. Like 30 seconds later, okay, all done. And then I read out the top result. I mean, the only thing that took time is that the most sporting was split between 5 people, which is pretty crazy. But just figuring out which one of them was highest on the leaderboard, that was the thing that took the longest. Other than that, it was all good. What I'll do is I'll quickly obviously best painted. Obviously, I took a picture of everyone's army, so I should have those on screen for you right now. So obviously Mr. Denny won that with his helm, but there was a lot on fine, if I may say so, Tom.
Thank you. I was going to say with Mr. Denny, does he have like a pile somewhere in his garage of
just awards?
Awards?
He tends to collect the most sporting as well, but not this time. So yeah, and obviously James Murphy will be pleased to know that he was 1 vote behind. So that's
It's a stretch goal for next tournament.
Yeah. And then just sort of general feedback. People were happy with 400 points, 4 games. A few people saying 600 points or doubles might be good, but overall, I think basically people would be happy with 400 or with 4 games or 600 with 3 games. It was kind of pretty tight. And again, people were kind of fairly evenly split between whether they want the next one to be a GBHL 80 or 90. So I think basically there's a bit of a mandate to basically choose 4 or 600, and then whether I want the next one to be a 90 or 80. So that's all good. And yeah, that's kind of concludes all the feedback. So I think it went well and a bit smoother than. Not the last time wasn't smooth, but there's a few wrinkles that have been ironed out. So I feel like it was good. And Yeah, we got rid of the veto system because I don't know if you have strong feelings on this, Tom, but it means that people can take lists that are less able to deal with stuff. Because, for example, and I'm not trying to sort of pick on anyone particular, but there's obviously one obvious example is if you have the Master and Lake Town and you draw the Killing Pool, which is to the death, Lords of Battle, and Contest of Champions, then you could just veto contest, and then you know that you will never have to play that. And yes, your opponent will probably veto to the death to mitigate those. So you play Lords of Battle, but you stand a good chance of winning that. And it's just one of those things where, well, actually, if you randomly roll it, then if you take a list that has the sort of big flaws to it, then there's a chance it will get punished. So you need a list that can deal with everything. Obviously, it's going to be stronger in some parts, weaker in other parts. But I don't know if you feel strongly about that, Tom, or if it's just kind of you're pretty laid back about the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, to be honest, I don't really mind what types of games I play because I've not got enough experience to figure out what an optimized list is.
You're not a sweat lord yet. That's fine.
No, I'm getting there. I'm getting a bit built up, but I'm not quite a sweat lord. But yeah, the idea of because I don't know every scenario inside out, so I would never be able to build a list. Yeah, I wouldn't do all the maths beforehand to figure out what pool works and then what I'd need to veto.
But some people enjoy that, and I just can't stand it. I just take something where I'm like, if I got to run at them, I can run at them. If I have to hold objectives, I can do this. If I need to maelstrom, I can do that. I'm happy with that. I don't want to sort of crunch all the numbers and sort of spreadsheet Warhammer to try and figure out the optimal list and vetoing system. I can't be asked with that, but I think some people enjoy it. But I'm kind of more in your camp. Let's just pick a list that can sort of do all the main things. And but yeah, so you don't feel super strongly about that, so that's fine. I do like the veto system, but I'm sort of moving away from it in competitive play a bit. But yeah, that's sort of all I have to waffle about. Unless you have further waffle to add to my waffle, Tom, might close it there then.
No, I think I don't have much to add other than say thanks to you, James, for organising a great tournament. And if anyone's listening and thinking of coming along to one of yours, they should definitely give it a go because you're a very good, competent TO and you're very friendly.
Thank you for coming on, Tom, and I appreciate you coming and winning. So that's all good for our team, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, see you for a game soon, mate.